Good morning, members. We have already formed a quorum. It is also time to start the meeting. Let me first of all say that since the chairman as well as the deputy chairman of the panel are both out of town, so I'll be chairing the meeting on their behalf. But of course, I need to consult your views. Do you think that it's necessary to elect a chairman to hold today's meeting? No need? All right. First of all, the minutes of the previous meeting have already been sent out to members. As of now, we haven't received any proposed amendments to the minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of November 2013. Can we confirm the minutes? All right, thank you. So, minutes confirmed. Since the last meeting, the Secretariat has sent out some information papers, and the details are already set out on the agenda. As to the date of the next meeting, it will be held on the 6th of February, which will be a special meeting, a Thursday. So the 7th day of the Chinese New Year. So please note the schedule. Recently, as a result of the holiday season, sometimes we have had difficulties about forming a quorum. So please mark your diary. The 6th of February, a Thursday, we have a special meeting on two items. First of all, the tariff review of 2014 and the development plans of the two power companies. That's the first item. Second item is about the AA, the Airport Authority. As to the next regular meeting, it will be held on the 24th of February on a Monday. We're going to discuss the following three items. First of all, the Hong Kong Tourism Board work plan for 2014 to 2015. Second, update on Hong Kong Disneyland. And third, update on follow-up actions arising from the report of the Commission of Inquiry into the collision of vessels near Lamma Island on the 1st of October 2012. For three items. Okay, we will move on to the fourth item on the agenda, which is a briefing by the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development on the initiatives in the policy address. I would like to welcome Mr. Gregory So as well as his team members. I'm not going to introduce the team members one by one, as members have all got a copy of the name list. For today's meeting, we have got three directors of bureau coming to brief us on policy address initiatives related to commerce and economic development. So I'll be rather strict about the time management. So, Mr. So, if you're ready, I'll give the floor to you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In fact, the paper has already set out our new initiatives as well as the ongoing initiatives and their progress. I'll highlight some of them. First of all, tourism. In the year 2013, there were a total of 54 million visitors, an increase of 11.7% when compared with 2012. With the increase in the number of visitors, it means that our tourism as well as the entire economy have the potential to develop. This is very important, but of course it has also caused concern in relation to our livelihood. And the SARG has already completed the assessment about our receiving capacity. And in fact, at a press conference held on the 17th of January, we have given a detailed account. Generally speaking, we are able to meet the demands of visitors up to 2017. But then for hotel room supply, there will be a tightness, and we will adopt a multi-pronged approach to increase the supply of hotel rooms. It is a small and externally oriented economy. We are not in a position to set a cap concerning particular segments of our visitors or the overall number of visitors coming to Hong Kong. So we'll make good use of our resources to attract the high-value segments to come to Hong Kong to visit. On the other hand, the CE has already reported and reflected to the Central People's Government about our concern in relation to the increasing number of visitors to make sure that we can have stable and orderly development of our tourism industry. The CPG has already agreed not to increase the number of cities covered by the individual visit scheme, and will also suspend the expansion of the multiple entry permit at this stage. We'll continue to invest heavily in our tourism infrastructure, including the 2 theme parks, and the Ocean Park has already got $2.29 billion as a loan from the government, and it is making full efforts in developing the all-weather water park at Taishuan, and its project concerning the Ocean Hotel is estimated to be given a start in this year, to be completed in 2017. For the Hong Kong Disneyland, the Mystic Point was completed and opened in May last year, and that completes the last phase of expansion. There will be consideration of further attractions, and in fact, Marvel hero Iron Man will be the next themed area to be featured. It is expected to be completed in 2016, and it is considering the construction of the 3rd hotel. And then for the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal, the first berth as well as the terminal were completed and commissioned in June last year. The operation has been found to be smooth, generally speaking, but there's room for improvement. The second berth will be completed in the course of this year. As to the retail and dining facilities, the tenants are already starting their design and decoration. It is expected that they will come into operation starting from the first quarter until the middle of the year. With the commissioning of the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal, the cruise liners will make use of the business opportunities. They will send more cruise liners to Hong Kong. We will cooperate with the industry and the Hong Kong Tourism Board to promote Hong Kong. In December 2011, the government has announced the decision to set up the regulatory body, that is the Travel Industry Authority, so as to regulate the tourism industry. We are actively pursuing this matter, and in fact in July this year we have already reported to this panel about the detailed arrangements. We expect to submit a bill to the Legislative Council in the next legislative year, and we hope that at the earliest the TIA will be set up towards the latter part of 2015. We expect that the new regulatory framework can tackle the problems encountered in the tourism industry in recent years, and it can improve the quality of our service. In June 2012, the LegCo enacted the competition bill, and with that we have been cooperating with the Competition Commission and the judiciary. We are trying to make preparations for the phased commencement of the bill, including recruitment of staff and the relevant rules and guidelines. We'll wait for all the preparatory work to be finished first before we'll bring the entire bill into operation. During the interim period, both the public and the business can acquaint themselves with the ordinance and then can make adjustments. Lastly, I would like to say a brief word concerning the protection of consumer interests. On the 19th of July 2013, Trade Description Unfair Trade Practices Amendment Ordinance 2012 came into operation. With the amendment, it means that the ordinance covers more unfair trade practices that are commonly seen, and we have also got a civil compliance-based mechanism to encourage the compliance on the part of the businesses, and we can also stop the unfair trade practices. The Customs as well as the Communications Authorities Office are the enforcement agency. They are dealing with the law enforcement, dealing with the inquiries and the complaints, and together with the Consumer Council, they will continue to publicize and educate the public and the businesses. Thank you.
Colleagues, 7 members have indicated that they would like to speak. Song Ting Kong, Yu Si Wing, Mr. Albert Chen, Chairman Pen, Dr. Fernando Zhang, and Miss Elizabeth Kwok. I really need to manage the time, so shall we say 3 minutes each. When you ask questions, please be concise and do not make long speeches. And also there will be other opportunities for us to ask questions relating to the work of the Commerce Ministry and Economic Bureau. 4 minutes then, okay. If we go beyond 4 minutes, I'll have to stop you. Mr. Wong Kok Heng. I have 2 questions for the Bureau. First of all, in Hong Kong, we only have 2 theme parks. During the festive seasons, these parks are very overcrowded. So does the government have any long-term plan to consider constructing a 3rd or 4th theme parks which Hong Kong can market to the tourists? If we only have 2 theme parks, it's difficult for overseas visitors to stay longer in Hong Kong, especially with the commissioning of the cruise terminal. The visitors who come on those cruises would like to have more tourist attractions, be it the ocean park or the Disney theme park. I think the tourists are already tired of those attractions. Without any new tourist attractions, I'm worried that the development of our tourism ministry will reach a bottleneck. Secondly, the accommodation for tourists. We now have a shortage of hotel rooms. The government apparently is doesn't have any clear policy regarding the development of home-style hotels and hostels, and also the scandal involving unlicensed hostels has also been a subject of public criticism. So would the government consider reviewing its policy relating to facilitating the development of home-style hotels? Thank you, Mr. Wong. We all know that there are certain areas that tourists would like to go to, especially during the holidays. The tourists would tend to congregate in those areas. In our assessment report, we've indicated that an important task on our part is to divert the tourists to other areas. Together with we're now collaborating with the 18 districts, and we hope that we can divert more tourists to see the tourist attractions in all the other in the 18 districts, so that the economic benefits brought by the tourists can be shared among the 18 districts. The Kai Tak Fantasy is also a major project which can attract some of the high value added tourists. We all know that there's ample room for development on Lantau Island, so we will therefore plan for the development of Lantau, and also with the commissioning of the Hong Kong-Macau-Zhuhai Bridge. The tourism facilities, we'll develop the tourism facilities there. Regarding home-style hotels, this is popular in some other jurisdictions, but I think we have to consider the local circumstances in Hong Kong and the possible impact on the residents. We need to be careful. Hong Kong has limited space, so the development of home-style hotels may result in security, fire hazard, and other issues that we need to consider carefully. Involving the incident of the 5-continent building, we will be stepping up the inspection of hostels and hotels. Mr. Wong Ting Kong. The Bureau has completed its review on the receiving capacity of our tourism ministry in Hong Kong. We have already received the report, and the report suggests that we will not be able to cope with the demand arising from tourists arriving in Hong Kong by 2017. The DAB had once suggested to the government that it should actively develop the bridgehead economy where the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge lands. And I'm very pleased to see that in the CE's policy address, he has set up a advisory committee on the development of Lantau. So my question for the Bureau is, what specific steps or plans do you have in developing the so-called bridgehead economy? Last week at the EA panel, I also expressed my personal views and made certain criticisms and suggested to the Bureau that we should build a shopping area near Lok Ma Chau. The Bureau responded very speedily, and last week the Tourism Commissioner, Mr. Yu, and I had a talk on this subject, and he also gave me detailed information. Last week I also met with representatives of different chambers of commerce, including the CMA and the Chinese, and they're very interested in helping in the effort. Some business corporations are also interested. I have also made arrangements with the Hung Yi Kok and the landowners in Sentin to see how we can all work together on this. So going forward, if we're going to proceed with this plan, what assistance will the Bureau be able to give us? Thank you, Mr. Wong Ting Kong, for your question. Your first question is about Lantau Island, especially after the completion of the Zhuhai Hong Kong Macau Bridge, and how would we develop the area. I'll ask Mr. Yong to answer the question, this question later on. Secondly, regarding Lok Ma Chau, we're grateful to Mr. Wong Ting Kwong for this very good suggestion. And if this could effectively divert the tourists to this area to shop, and it would certainly have a beneficial effect on the tourism industry, and it will also bring economic benefits, especially if the private business sector are willing to work in this direction. We understand that a lot of the land in the area are privately owned. So if we could work with these individuals and private corporations to take the lead, it would be a good thing. But this is only our preliminary view at the moment. We have to really look at the content of the business plan, and we'll be happy to work, in tandem with them. We're not thinking of building a shopping center, like the Times Square or Pacific Place. We would like to, do it similar to the we also need to consider the facilities in the vicinities as well. Mr. Young, if you have time, you can respond to Mr. Wong's earlier question. Mr. Yu Si Wing, thank you. I really support Mr. Wong's suggestion because it can effectively divert the tourists, especially those who come on multiple entry visas, because this can help mitigate the adverse impact on the local residents. The Chinese National Tourism Ministry in August last year allowed mainland tourists to come to Hong Kong and then to go to join a cruise tour to Taiwan, and they're also allowed to visit Korea and Japan. We hope the government can really, help to expedite this process. Last year, there were only 10 cruise vessels berthing at the terminal. Going forward, there will only be about 20. So I'm worried that the Kai Tak cruise terminal will become a white elephant. given that the mainland now has this policy, how does the SAR government plan to work in parallel? And when will the cruise vessels be able to leave Hong Kong for Taiwan and then Korea and Japan? And secondly, with the new arrangement, there are fewer, tourists coming to Hong Kong on a shopping tour. Recently, the number of tourist groups are stabilizing and is on the increase again, and this is a good sign. But in the long term, we want to safeguard Hong Kong's reputation as a shopper's paradise. Measures to safeguard the interests of these visitors, especially those who come to shop, should be implemented. We have the Trade Descriptions Ordinance to protect the tourists. I don't know whether the government will work in view of the new tourism law, proactively conduct random checks on shops in order to protect the interests of the tourists. Well, in June last year, the cruise terminal was commissioned and 10 vessels visited Hong Kong last year. This year, we expect that the number will go up to 28. So the cruise terminal has only just been commissioned. There's a lot of room for development. Regarding the measures to protect the interests of tourists, and the 10 measures tackling those tour groups which charge zero fees, we will certainly work in tandem with the mainland authorities and take steps to protect our visitors. The Trade Description Ordinance aims to protect the consumers, be they visitors or Hong Kong residents. After we've stepped up these measures, we will be able to protect both. And I'll ask the Commissioner to follow up on the question about the cruise terminal. Regarding the mainland authorities relaxing the restrictions so that mainland visitors can go to Taiwan through Hong Kong and then visit Korea and Japan. After the details were announced last August, the cruise operators are have responded positively. I understand that they are now working out the itineraries and planning more diversified itineraries for the tourists. But it takes time to prepare and sell these itineraries. But I think very soon such packages will be launched and this will help enhance Hong Kong's status as a cruise hub. The Kai Tak cruise terminal is a new facility. It's still working very hard to attract more cruise vessels to come to Hong Kong. In 2014, we see that with the commission of the Kai Tak cruise terminal, the whole market for cruise market has become more active. Compared with 2013 and early years, there has been a significant growth. So the Kai Tak cruise terminal has really played its role in helping develop the cruise industry. I think the SAR government has caused a lot of public discontent when implementing its tourism policy. Tourists now coming to Hong Kong cannot buy powder formula, and people now have to wait for 5 trains before getting on board at Admiralty Station. And recently, Hong Kong has become, a place where hotbed for smuggling, and even visitors have been found to carry guns when they visit the Disney park. And the people of Hong Kong simply have nowhere to go during the holidays. Previously, people would go to Causeway Bay and Mong Kok, but now if you go there, there's simply no space at all for you to even walk around. And you say that the total number of visitors will go up to 100 million going in the future. So Hong Kong will be so overcrowded with people. Where can the people of Hong Kong go? You have to consider the rights of Hong Kong people. You already, so the people's human rights and livelihood are being affected. And in order to please Beijing, you are allowing more and more visitors to visit Hong Kong and increasing the number to 100 million. will the Secretary consider imposing a tax on the mainland visitors come to Hong Kong, so that genuine visitors can come to Hong Kong, and there should be a reasonable number. The question now is that the visitors who come to Hong Kong are not visitors, they are smugglers. They come to Hong Kong, they buy a can of powder formula that they can make $20 odd. If you cross the border to Louisville, you'll see that people are now are selling this powder formula. So would the government consider imposing an import tax or a customs tax on the visitors from mainland, so that Hong Kong will be once again become a place for the Hong Kong people, rather than making Hong Kong into a haven for smugglers and criminals? I reiterate that a healthy development of a tourism industry, well, the situation is not healthy. The nature of the tourism industry has changed. My simple question is whether or not he will consider imposing a tax on the inbound tourists from the mainland. Don't beat around the bush. The Chairman, I'm answering the question directly. We need to balance the we have to take heed of the possible impact on public livelihood. So we have to. You say you want to, Mr. Chen. Why didn't you ask the Secretary? Well, he's not been able to answer my question. Well, it's my time. Please don't waste my time. The Secretary is now disregarding the impact on public livelihood. With this, your tourism policy, people in Hong Kong cannot even buy powder formula. Mr. Chen mentioned the question of smuggling. I don't think that is related to the question to these tourists. Do you know that the tourists are smuggling? Mr. Chen mentioned the figure of 100 million visitors. That is only a rough estimate. We're saying that in 2017 there will be 70 million visitors. I just attended a WTO meeting and returned to Hong Kong yesterday. And in Switzerland, now, you're totally disregarding the adverse impact on public livelihood in Hong Kong. The Secretary is wasting time. You've not answered my question at all. Chairman, you're speaking nonsense. You're still uttering nonsense, Secretary. You should really step down. Mr. Gregory, so you don't know how to, show your name cards. I think you should ask him to shut up. Point of order, Chairman. I think Mr. Albert Chan's speech was insulting to the government officials. I think the Chairman should make a ruling here. I already asked him to shut up. I think we should reserve some time for the Secretary to answer the questions. Otherwise, what's the point of asking the questions? For the suggestion to charge a tax on visitors coming from mainland, do we also have to pay a tax when we visit other countries? All right, I'll now come to my question. Chairman, I think Mr. Chen is wasting my time. Should you allow me make up for some of the time because I was interrupted by Mr. Chen. Ms. Albert Chen, please do not interfere with other members while they are speaking. Chairman, I think he is actually interrupting my speech. I'll give you some extra time. There are many major projects and theme parks in Hong Kong, and we agree that we need them. But to build theme parks is not. The theme parks are not does not represent the whole tourism industry. Regarding the receiving capacity, and when there are conflicts between the interests of tourists and the local residents, it's a problem. We understand. To increase our receiving capacity, the best solution is for the public to also benefit from the development of the tourism industry. And I hope the Bureau will consider the example of Taiwan, where they have home-style hostels, and when visitors go to the rural areas and stay in these home-style hostels, the people who operate the home-style hostels will be able to make a living. In Hong Kong, it's not that we don't have the conditions to build these home-style hostels. We have already resort type of villas in Hong Kong. So I'd like to ask Mr. So whether or not we can explore the possibility of building such home-style hostels to in order to make up for the shortage of hotel rooms. I think some of our beaches are very beautiful. For example, those in South Lantau, they're as good as in Hunting in Taiwan. Previously, we have suggested that we should build a tourist attraction or a rustic town in the south of Lantau. In Cheung there are only 3 streets which are busy with tourists, and previously we suggested that we should divert the tourists to visit the Tin Hau Temple so that the overall receiving capacity of Cheung could be increased. So I think the government should start with these small measures first. Let me talk about the question of home-style hostels. In Hong Kong, I think the living condition is rather crowded, so it's not easy to come up with a space for the development of home-style hostels. We have to ensure that we provide them with a reasonable living environment and the safety as well. Also, there's need to comply with the safety and health requirements. Well, if you're not pleased with the Secretary answer, I'm sure you can pursue those issues further at the relevant panel meeting. Thank you. I think we really need to be very careful. Public opinion is very important. If there were if there were home-style hostels, we have to bear in mind the security risks. And developing Lantau and Cheung, I asked the Commissioner to respond to that question. I'll allow 1 more minute to Mr. Chen Bun. I agree that in development tourism, we want to generate the maximum economic benefits for the public. So we have 230,000 people who are employed in the tourism ministry, and these are mostly rank and file jobs. And this shows the benefit which the tourism ministry can bring to the people of Hong Kong. Regarding the suggestion of building a rustic rural town in Lantau, in promoting tourism in Hong Kong, one of the focus is the natural scenery of Hong Kong. Going forward, we'll continue to promote green tourism and eco-tourism, and Lantau will play a very important role here. Regarding the future development of Lantau, some members suggested that we should build an economy, a business area near the border control area. But we have to also bear in mind the environmental issue and so on. Dr. Fernando Zhang. I believe if you ask anyone in Hong Kong whether or not we are feeling, when the people of Hong Kong go out, they see tourists shopping everywhere, and most people can feel that their livelihood is being affected. Anywhere in Hong Kong, there is people have the same feeling. Hong Kong is a very small place. We're talking about more than 50 million visitors coming to Hong Kong. Every day we have about 1 million tourists staying in Hong Kong. During the Chinese New Year, we're talking about 2 million tourists who are shopping on the streets or in our shopping centers. The economic benefits and the profits that are made, there's a price to be paid for the economic benefits. The price we pay includes the people of Hong Kong having to pay more for the things they need, and they find it very difficult to buy daily necessities. Many of the neighborhood stores have to give up the businesses because the premises are now occupied by jewelry stores and drug stores.
They go to the Repulse Bay, they go to the Peak. Wherever our citizens go, they find that the area has become crowded. I think they are facts, hard facts. We are getting 50 million. In future, we get 70 million, and eventually there will be 100 million visitors. Can we really have the capacity to receive so many visitors? Do we have a plan? The Secretary talked about the study. It is found that Hong Kong can receive double the number of visitors we are having. I'm afraid such a conclusion must be based on ignoring the social consequences. The quality of our life has been affected. Doesn't mean that our public space and our quality of living should be sacrificed for the sake of tourism in return for job opportunities, saying that we have economic growth. But where does the money go? Kai Tak is a large site. We could have built more housing for our citizens, but then you are setting aside a lot of space for hotels, and we have constructed a cruise terminal. We have to pay a price for it. Now, Secretary, in terms of shopping, transport, the entertainment, housing, in all such areas we are being affected. How can you turn a blind eye to it? So, Secretary, I want to know whether you have any plan to tackle the matter seriously. Look at it from the perspective of social impact assessment. Look at our way of life, look at our public space, look at our cultural life, so as to arrive at a conclusion as to how much we have by way of the receiving capacity. Secretary, well, Dr. Zhang, we have been looking at the facilities, our immigration counters, our public transport capacity, among others, so as to come up with the receiving capacity of Hong Kong. So we've been objective in our assessment. Of course, we have also looked at the sentiments of the Hong Kong citizens in the light of the increasing number of visitors. So the SARG has already reflected the issue to the CPG. The C has done a lot of work in this regard. The CPG has also agreed not to increase the number of cities under the individual visa scheme, and the multiple visa scheme will also be put on hold. There won't be further expansion. Of course, for those living in Causeway Bay and Mong Kok, we know that it is very crowded. Perhaps we should sort of distribute the economic benefits throughout the 18 districts. And we are also increasing the number of hotels, and we want to have a healthy development of our tourism industry. Mr. Kenneth Leung, we had 40.75 million visitors last year. I want to know how many of them didn't spend their night in Hong Kong, that is, they returned to their home country or home place within the same day. Mr. Yong, do you have the figures with you? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 2013, for mainland visitors, there were about 40 million of them. We believe that about 11 million of them were not overnight visitors, 26% in relation to the 11 million visitors. We want to attract high-quality visitors. We don't want our public space being affected. So what measures have you got to make sure that we are attracting people who are overnight visitors, so that they spend more money in Hong Kong? Recently, some economists have already said that we have a narrow tax base and our financial position will not be that healthy and stable in the long term. In 20 years' time, maybe we will be running out of our surplus. And someone has suggested that perhaps we should revive the idea of a arrival tax, and then we can cut down on the number of shoppers who come here just to do the shopping. Some scholars have also said that for the luxury goods, perhaps we can introduce a sales tax. In this way, by relying on these two initiatives, we can filter the visitors and we can concentrate on the high end of the market. Secretary, yes, we've looked at the visitor segments and we're working hard. For the promotional work of the Tourism Board this year, the budget is such that they have increased up to 75% of the budget targeting at the non-mainland visitors. For the remaining 25%, we are focusing on mainland cities outside of the province of Guangdong. In other words, we want to attract other segments and we want to have more overnight visitors. For overnight visitors, they will spend more in Hong Kong when compared with the non-overnight visitors. Mr. Yong, if I may just add a word here. Just now, when the member asked about the number of non-overnight visitors, I was referring to those traveling on the multiple entry permits. We believe that in the year 2013, for those using multiple entry permits and not spending a night here, there were about 11 million of them. For the mainland visitors, for the non-overnight visitors, I think there were over 20 million of them. In other words, 50%, Mr. Chairman, 50%. What about the impact on our GDP? Will there be a 1% growth? My figures show that the magnitude is small, but of course you would say that it will have a huge impact on employment, but that's another issue. Now, if I may also get a quick answer to the following question. For the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal, are you already working on the question of power supply when they berth? I think the cruises calling the Port of Hong Kong also bring about lots of problems, among which is air pollution. Mr. Yong. Yes, we are concerned about the development of the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal. We want to be environmentally friendly. Yes, by switching over to electricity when they berth, it will cut down on air pollution. The EMSD is already working on this question, the provision of electricity for cruise terminals, for the cruise terminal. In 2010, we had the first part of the international standards. For the second part, our understanding is that there has been no conclusion yet, but still we're trying to fight against time. And we have already invited the EMSD to look at the feasibility of providing onshore electricity. We would like to have a firm plan for Kai Tak, and then we'll move ahead. Ms. Elizabeth Quat. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, in the past, we always pointed out that we lacked a long-term plan. We didn't have any strategies for the development of tourism in Hong Kong. For today's paper, we are still being told that the Ocean Park and the Hong Kong Disneyland would be the major attractions. It is good to develop the cruise industry, but what about our long-term plan for housing? We have the 10-year long-term housing strategy scheme. Tourism is important for us. Do we have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan so as to plan for the number of new attractions and the number of new hotel rooms so that we can have the higher spending visitors coming to Hong Kong? In the paper, we are told that there will be more promotional work and we will be having more publicity about the MICE sector. But then we have a tight supply of hotel rooms. For the Hong Kong CEE, we are turning away the organizers of conferences and exhibitions because it is already a full house situation. Are we self-conflicting, self-contradictory? What about the plans for further development of the Hong Kong CEE? If we haven't got capacity to expand, what is the point of promoting Hong Kong? Secretary. Thank you, Ms. Kwok, for her question. Well, in our study concerning the receiving capacity, it is found that with limited space, land resources are limited, and so accommodation is indeed tight in Hong Kong. We have got a shortage of land for housing, and so we have to pay attention to the problem of accommodation for tourists. We have 223 hotels in Hong Kong providing 70,000 hotel rooms. Soon, we are going to have a number of hotels being completed. We need to rely on the business sector to take the lead. Of course, if tourism is booming, and when there is a strong demand from the visitors, I'm sure the business sector will tie in with the development. But still, the supply is tight. Ms. Kwok is right to point out that for the Hong Kong CEE, we want to promote the Hong Kong CEE, we need hotel rooms. And for other attractions, maybe Mr. Yong can give an answer. Yes, Mr. Yong. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, one of our major focal areas would be to attract the higher spending visitors. For the Hong CEE, I think usually they spend, for the MICE sector, they spend over $10,000 a person, much higher than other segments. In terms of the software, in terms of the itinerary and activities, we hope that we can arrange for more high-end activities. Every year, we have something very attractive. That is a Wine and Dine Festival. We would like to make it even more attractive. I'm afraid my question hasn't been answered at all. I want to know if there is a long-term plan. Have we got something for the 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road? If we have a long-term plan for housing, why not the same for tourism and the MICE? Well, the Economic Development Commission has got a working group on tourism, and we are looking at this issue. We are studying the supply and demand, and then we will look at the recommendations and we will follow them up. Well, members, the administration has come up with this assessment concerning our receiving capacity. We need to carry out a lot of follow-up work. I would suggest that the Economic Development Panel can have further sessions with the administration. That is how we're going to plan for the future, how we're going to provide the additional facilities needed. For Ms. Kwok's question, I think it is something indeed very important. So I hope that in due course, the Secretary may want to come to brief us on the recommendations. Next, Mr. Dennis Kwok. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may ask the Permanent Secretary this question, there is the Competition Ordinance, the Competition Commission, and the Competition Tribunal. I want to know about the progress of recruitment of staff, and I want to know if the judiciary has indicated or not whether they have got sufficient manpower and whether the progress is as scheduled. Mr. Wong, well, the Competition Commission has been set up. Administrative work and recruitment exercises are going on smoothly. I think Mr. Kwok understands that the recruitment is not just done locally, but also overseas to attract the persons or the personnel with the right caliber. We have got sufficient resources for the judiciary. I don't think the Competition Commission has complained about any shortage of resources. Mr. Wang, anything else to add? Well, for the Commission's recruitment, I think we are reaching the latest stage of the exercise. I understand that some newly recruited staff members will report duty in the first quarter of this year, so we are confident that as far as recruitment is concerned, things are smooth. As to the allocation of resources in 2013 to 14, we've earmarked $80 million for the Competition Commission. So at this stage, as far as allocation of resources is concerned, the Commission has got sufficient resources to recruit the first phase of manpower and to meet the expenses needed in the first year of its operation.
I also like to ask a question about the guidelines. Well, they will be drafting some guidelines. When will the preliminary draft of those guidelines will be ready for public consultation? Do you have a timetable? Mr. Wong. After the competition bill became the law, we said that before the commencement of the competition ordinance, we will consult LegCo and the relevant industries regarding the guidelines. I understand that the Competition Commission is already doing the preparatory work, and they've also engaged external consultants to help them collect the relevant information. They're also planning to consult the stakeholders regarding the guidelines, and later on this year the guideline will be put forward for formal consultation. Mr. Kwok, no further questions. Mr. Sin Chung-kai. I think I also asked the similar question earlier. In your report regarding Hong Kong's receiving capacity, you say that by 2017 we're going to have 70 million. By 2023, 100 million visitors will come to Hong Kong. We have 54 million. We're talking about 11-12% growth. By the end of the year, the figure will go up to 58 million. By 2015-2016, by the end of 2016, the number will exceed 70 million. And it's actually happening faster than what you have predicted in your report. Furthermore, we're now talking about it's because Mr. C.Y. Leung has actually, slowing down the development of the tourism ministry. If the mainland economy continues to grow, and as the mainland residents become more and more affluent, the aspiration to travel will also increase, and there will be more tourists coming to Hong Kong. Even if we do not expand the IVS scheme and the multiple entry permits, Hong Kong will still be under a lot of pressure. The trade had proposed whether or not you can add tourist attractions at the border area, so that there will be fewer tourists coming to the town center. Especially on weekends. If one goes to Mong Kok or Tsim Sha Tsui, go to Harbour City, or if they go to Causeway Bay, all these places are overcrowded with tourists. Not to mention that the trains are now very, very crowded as well. Some of our public transport simply are not able to cope already. So the Economic Development Commission has been set up for such a long time. Could you tell us whether or not it has any detailed plans or specific plans as to how we can, divert the tourists from the busy areas? I understand that during weekends there are some vessels where the tourists will go to. I understand some tourists even sleeping in country parks. So do you have any plans to increase the number of tourist attractions, especially at the border area? Well, regarding these numbers, we don't have a crystal ball. It will all depend on the overall environment, and it's difficult for us to give you accurate figures. But according to our rough estimate, by 2017, about 70 million visitors will visit Hong Kong. I think you should have also noticed that the Institute of Social Science has indicated that in the next few years, the number of mainland visitors to Hong Kong may not increase as rapidly as in previous years. The increase may slow down. When I returned from Europe last night, I found out that in places like Switzerland, there are many mainland visitors visiting those places now. I understand that there are 700,000 visitors from the mainland visiting Switzerland. And when I talked to their minister in Australia, they also said that they will welcome mainland visitors visiting Australia. So in order to maintain Hong Kong's attraction to the mainland visitors, we have to really maintain our facilities. So it's difficult to predict what's going to happen in 2017. But given the present assumptions, we have made our assessment. When I answered Mr. Wong Ting Kwong's question, I already said that we need to divert the visitors to other places. I said that earlier that we want to ensure that the economic benefits will be shared among all the 18 districts. All members already asked the questions. I also have one suggestion, and it's relevant to the theme of our discussion today. All of us attach a lot of importance to the development of our tourism industry. It's a complex issue, in my opinion, and there are several directions. First of all, the drastic increase in the number of tourists in the last few years, while our facilities are not able to catch up. Another issue is the distinction between the big spending tourists and those who are not big spenders, and also the adverse impact on public livelihood brought about by these tourists. Thirdly, in the last few years, the number of visitors have increased drastically, and people are feeling now that their livelihood is being adversely affected, and also the people of Hong Kong now have this ambivalent attitude and this love-hate, relationship with the tourists. And I think the government will need to address this issue. We cannot just keep on developing the tourism industry and not consider the feelings of the Hong Kong people. But just because the people of Hong Kong have this feeling, we should. I don't think we should, stifle the development of the tourism industry, which is a major pillar of our economy. Fourthly, the professional standard of our tourism industry is declining, and also our regulatory standard is also not up to par. And when international visitors come to Hong Kong, there may be unexpected results. So I think we need to conduct a comprehensive review of our overall capacity in receiving tourists. We have a lot of tourism resources in Hong Kong, other than the few theme parks and also tourist attractions with their historic background. We have not been developing too many new tourist attractions in the last few years. We have beautiful beaches in Hong Kong. Our outlying islands are beautiful as well. Our Geo Park is also very attractive, but we have not fully made use of these tourism facilities to attract tourists. So going forward, I hope the administration will really work hard on those areas, so that on the one hand we can divert the tourists away from the busy areas, and it can so that tourism will continue to remain a major pillar of our economy. And the government really need to, put some effort into this area. We'll certainly follow up on members' suggestions, and we'll certainly make optimal use of our tourism resources. Members, I think we can now wrap up our discussion on this item, and I'd like to thank the Secretary the Permanent Secretary and his team for attending our meeting today. With that, we'll move on to the next item. The next item, we have the Secretary for Transport and Housing, who will brief us on the relevant policy initiatives in the CE's 2014 policy address. Shall we now invite the Secretary to come in? We welcome Professor Chung and his team to our meeting this morning. I shall introduce them one by one because they're all familiar faces, and the list of the officials present have already been circulated. So, Secretary, if you're ready, Chairman. The focus of our work is further promote Hong Kong as an international maritime and aviation center. All along, Hong Kong has been an international maritime and aviation center. In order to enhance that status, we have to face not only competition from labor areas, we have to also grasp the opportunity of the whole economy, the focus of the global economy, moving towards the Asia, and also the use of the opportunity brought about by the National 12 5-year plan. We have to leverage on our competitive edges. We have to advance, enhance our maritime, aviation, and land transports, to provide support for the development of our port, logistics, and industry. Our airport is one of the busiest in the world. It's also So we are now working hard to develop work out on the planning of the third runway for the airport. The airport authority is now studying the EIA for the third runway. We expect the study will be completed by the third quarter of this year. With the completion of the EIA and the other statutory procedures, the work on the third runway will have to start as soon as possible. We expect that it will be completed at the earliest by 2013, at which time the total number of passengers throughput will be more than 90 million, and cargo throughput will be 8.5 million tons. We are also dredging our maritime channels so that the new generation of container vessels with a capacity of 125,000 TEUs can berth at any time at Kwai Ching. When the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge is commissioned in 2016, we will enhance land transport and a connection with the western part of the PRD and promote the development of the logistics industry. We'll also step up collaboration with the airports in the PRD area, including the use of airspace and the management of airspace. Regarding our ports, recently some people suggest that our container throughput last year has been overtaken by Shenzhen. Does that mean that our port has now lost its competitiveness? I must point out that last year the total throughput was 22.3 million TEU, similar to the throughput in previous years. It shows that our port is developing in a stable manner. Although the figure showed that there was negative growth in the first half, it was minus 7.6%. In the second half, there was a positive growth of 0.4%. So it's actually performing better than expected. This is because at the end of March to May last year, there was a strike at the container port, so that the throughput for the first half was adversely affected. For the second half, the throughput for the Hong Kong port had also grew. The Hong Kong port still remain one of the busiest in the world. The throughput figure does not reflect fully our competitiveness in the shipping industry. We also have many advantages in terms of our soft power. We built up a very good business environment. We already have many businesses providing high value-added services in Hong Kong, forming a cluster of the shipping industry, including shipping registration, management, financing, insurance, maritime law, and arbitration services. The government has just completed a consultative study on And the study shows that Hong Kong has taken addition to provide high value added shipping industries, and that Hong Kong could become Hong Kong can also be the springboard for shipping companies from mainland to go out, so that Hong Kong can become the major international shipping service center for China and the Asian Pacific region. The consultant also considered that we should consider setting up a statutory body and we have built up designated manpowers in order to mobilize the resources of industry to work along with the government to conduct policy research and to also promote Hong Kong's professional shipping services and enhance our status as a regional hub. We will consider the financial and operational aspects of going forward. In terms of aviation, we have efficient professional aviation services, especially airport maintenance industry has an international competitive edge. We will set up a Civil Aviation Training Institute to further enhance the practitioners and skills of in the aviation industry and to develop talents and to enhance the safety standard of the aviation industry as well as management efficiency. As the CE said in his policy address, the government has already started to work in tandem with the advanced work of the National 13th Five-Year Plan. Under the 13th Five-Year Plan, we will consider how we can enhance Hong Kong's role in the provision of services for the shipping and maritime services and safeguard Hong Kong's status as a global city. We welcome the trade and LegCo to give us their comments. LegCo just approved funding of $100 million to set up a talent development fund. In the next year, we will work with the tertiary institutions and the trade associations to work out the details for the scholarship scheme. The scholarship scheme will support the manpower training for the local maritime and aviation industry in order to resolve the problem of the aging problem of the practitioners. Because of the lessons learned from the collision off Lam Island, the Marine Department has come up with short, medium and long-term improvement measures in order to enhance marine safety. At the end of last year, the Marine Department reached an agreement with the industry, and there were 5 amendments to 5 of the operational guidelines, and both sides are now discussing details on how we can further enhance the safety of shipping vessels. The government understands that the trade is worried that they have to pay extra costs when they are required to install equipment. The government will provide them with appropriate assistance. The Maritime Department Reform Committee will continue to look at the systemic problems and work out the reform proposals. And in the light of the negligence on the part of the Marine Department, the study is still ongoing. I hope that the investigation team will submit a report to me in the first quarter of this year. And at the next meeting of this panel, we will give members a full report.
Thank you. Well, many members have raised their hands to speak. 8. SIN Chung-kai, Wong Kok-heng, Dennis Kwok, Charles Mok, Kenneth Leung, Elizabeth Kwok, Yu Si-wing, and Yik Chi-ming. Well, please note that other than this session, we still have the Secretary for the Environment to give us a briefing. So I can only allow 3 minutes each. I hope all of you can keep your questions succinct. And for the answers, again, I hope that the officials will give brief replies. Mr. SIN Chung-kai, I'm concerned about the 3rd runway, Mr. Chairman. It is expected that it will be completed in 2023 if the EIA is approved. In terms of passenger traffic and the cargo traffic, we've seen a drastic increase. It seems that before 2023, we will be reaching our capacity. although the government's paper is silent on this. Of course, the administration will say that perhaps we can change for larger planes or we can make full use of the time slots available. So what is the government's assessment? When will the airport be reaching the capacity? And once the capacity has been reached, what is your countermeasure? Secretary, indeed, the airport has to face the problem of exhausting its capacity. Yes, indeed, it will be so before 2023, but I can't tell exactly in which year, depending on the development of passenger and cargo volume. In the light of this problem, the AA is already expanding the facilities like the aircraft stands. We are now working on the western part of the midfield area, hoping that we can increase the number of parking stands by 20. We are also having the midfield expansion divided into 2 phases. One will be completed in this next year. The second phase will also be completed later on. And then the number of aircraft stands will be increased by 30. So the total So we're going to increase the capacity by 35% over the existing number of 170. But ultimately, the number of movements that can be accommodated by a single runway will be the constraint factor. Yes, you may want to introduce more aircraft stands. But what about the runway's capacity? It is difficult for you to assess, but still you have to come up with a year. I want to know when the airport will reach its capacity. Now, of course, for the support facilities, you have already planned and worked on the expansion. But what about the landing and taking off? I think I want to know when you reach the optimum. Currently 68. In 2015, we will reach 68 flights per hour. This is, of course, the capacity, and we'll try to see if we can enhance the capacity. Mr. Wong Kwok Hing. Mr. Chairman, I welcome the government's announcement to set up the Civil Aviation Training Institute, or rather to carry out a feasibility study on that idea. I went to the airport and I visited the maintenance base, and I can see for myself that as far as the aviation industry is concerned, the maintenance industry can provide a lot of jobs for Hong Kong and has a bright future. So, Secretary, can you not answer this question? What about the feasibility study? When can you come to a conclusion? When can the Training Institute for Civil Aviation be set up so as to benefit the aviation industry in Hong Kong and train the manpower for the industry? So can you tell us about the timetable? Secretary, as Mr. Wong has said, we believe that the Civil Aviation Training Institute would be needed, and this is important to reinforce and enhance our status as an aviation hub in the region. Recently, we have been attracting young people to join the aviation industry, and it is well received. For the Civil Aviation Training Institute feasibility study, we are making preparations to engage a consultant. We have to find out about the positioning of the training institute, the training courses, format, standards, and how they relate to other stakeholders, the teaching quality, etc. From the admin's point of view, we believe that it is necessary to have such a training institute. And then for the Economic Development Commission chaired by the CE, the working group on transportation has also shown a lot of support. Question not answered. When are you able to conclude on the feasibility study? I'm concerned about the timetable. Secretary, very soon we will start the consultancy study, probably in April, to be completed end of the year. We'll come back to this panel. Mr. Wong. Mr. Chairman, I hope that within the current term of the administration, we can indeed set up the training institute. This is because our aviation industry does need to train our manpower. Well, in fact, we know that it will be successful. So we have already got a sound basis. I hope the administration will set aside resources to set up the training institute. Mr. Dennis Kwok, a question about the development. Other than the third runway system, I think cheaper or budget airlines would also be important for both Hong Kong and other. Well, in fact, we are lagging behind in terms of comparison with other Southeast Asian airports. I think it's important to provide budget airlines so that air tickets that are budget air tickets will be available, and it will also benefit the tourism industry of Hong Kong. You haven't given us any specific details about our plan to develop budget airlines. What is your view? I hope the Bureau can be clear about this. Secretary, Mr. Chairman, all along we do have some cheaper airlines. Hong Kong has been put on the map in relation to this matter. The Hong Kong government encourages different categories of air services, and we have a competition policy. The more choices, the better for the consumers. For Hong Kong to set up a budget airline, as far as the government is concerned, our focus is on the establishment of an airline in Hong Kong using the air services rights. Well, we are talking about the designated Hong Kong airline companies. We are carrying out an overall review. Therefore, as we have said in the past, before we complete the review, we do not intend to consider any application to become a designated Hong Kong airline. For budget airlines, our view is that we do welcome such a development. I'm sure this will provide more choices to the passengers or the customers. You say that you welcome having more budget airlines, but then there is this proposal to set up a budget airline in Hong Kong. Does it mean that you are not considering such an application? Well, for a new airline that is using Hong Kong as the base, getting the status of being a designated airline, whether they run the conventional air services or whether they provide budget airline services, well, since it involves the air services agreements, and we have to follow the advice in the basic law. Hong Kong will be the major place of operation. Hong Kong will be the base for such an airline. We are carrying out a review in this regard, and it's been going on for some time. We expect to complete the review in the short term. Mr. Charles Mok. For the logistics industry, I'm sure Mr. Frankie Yip will make the same comment. That is, from this perspective, we are disappointed by the policy address. Well, do you remember that we have this DDTN? Where has it been buried? 10 years ago, the Logistics Council was set up, and then there was a working group on e-logistics. As early as that day, it is said that $590 million will be spent on the development of the DDT, and nothing has happened. Money has been spent, but the industry told me that it is 30 years behind the world standard. It was something from the past in the UK. Even for mainland cities, they have got something more modern. Now, for the major companies, they've told us that their IT systems are fine. But then third-party, fourth-party logistics operators are not allowed to have access. And then for the land side communication, it is quite backward, and as a result, we have traffic congestion. Please tell us whether this is the cause of the negative growth, rather than blaming it on the strike of the dockers. Now we have the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, and we will soon have the third runway. We've got the hardware, but not the software. For a consultancy study, are you going to focus on e-logistics and its modernization? In your speech, you haven't touched on it again. 10 years ago, the policy address emphasized this aspect. You have forgotten about it. Just this morning, I talked to someone from the logistics industry. They hope that the government can spot this crisis. But of course, there are also opportunities. You have the chance to catch up. So, Secretary, please give us a reply.
Chairman, the logistics industry obviously plays a very important role to the economic development of Hong Kong. The government, like Mr. Mok suggested, set up a logistics commission a few years ago, and I am the chairman of that board, and through that platform we've heard the views of the trade. The trade in general is concerned about, firstly, our overall transport infrastructure, be the aviation and maritime and land transport, how we can build up our facilities, and secondly, the supply of land. The different logistics industry may have different needs. The logistics it's a very so I don't think you need to talk about land. Just talk about e-logistics. We do promote e-logistics. For details, perhaps I will make an appointment to talk to the secretary about this topic later on. Mr. Leung Kai-Chiang, Chairman. My question is also about maritime and aviation industry. Even though you can build the third runway, but for the airspace control of the airspace in the PRD region, and so what is the status of a negotiation with the main authorities? If you're going to have an extra runway, but you don't have the air routes, then I don't think there will be a very large increase in number of flights coming to Hong Kong. And secondly, many members talked about development of the shipping and aviation industry. I don't think we should just talk about it. What I want to know is that if all these measures could be implemented, by how much will Hong Kong GDP go up, and how many new jobs will be created? Secretary. Chairman, at the moment, talking about shipping and aviation industries, the two industries roughly contribute about 3.7% of Hong Kong's GDP. So both in terms of value added and the number of jobs created, they play a very important role. If one looks at our future development, we cannot be complacent. We cannot rest on our laurels. We're still facing a lot of competition. So our direction should be moving towards high value-added services, and also to enhance our talent and management expertise so that we can continue to do well. Chairman, I want the Secretary to tell us, if we implement all these so-called measures, by how much our GDP go up? Only then will we be able to know, how much resources we should commit to this and what is worth it. After we've completed the consultant study, we will make an assessment after we've announced the findings. Well, this is only an assessment. We don't have a crystal ball saying that it's 3.7% now, it's going to be 4.7. Regarding the airspace in the PRD region, we do have connection with the airports in the neighboring region, and we do have discussions regarding the use of airspace. Thank you, Mr. Leung. Regarding the airspace in the PRD region, between 2004 and 2014, we have had 20 meetings with our counterparts in the mainland, and the three parties, the Chinese Aviation Bureau and the Macau Civil Aviation Department, and us have come up with a plan regarding the design, how we can improve on the design and management of the airspace in the PRD region. In the last 10 years, regarding airspace management, we've made a lot of improvements. For example, the altitude of our flights. In 2009, in the whole of China and Hong Kong as well, we've narrowed the interval between different flights from 2,000 feet to 1,000. So between now and 2020, we'll continue to improve the airspace in the PRD region. So there won't be any problem as far as the airspace is concerned, but the third runway is ready, yes. Anyone who has gone to the new airport in Shenzhen will really be shocked because by the rapid development. And if you have, been to the high-speed highway going to the new airport, you'll find that it's now a lot faster. So by 2013 at the earliest, our third runway will be completed. I understand the administration is now working on it. So the question is now, the construction of the third runway, have you encountered any difficulties for this project? And when the third runway is built, will there be new negotiations regarding the right to use airspace so that we can further enhance our status as an aviation hub? And my third question is about regional cooperation. If we do not collaborate with the mainland airports, the airports in the mainland, I think land transport is also very important. So what measures do we have to enhance our work at the border control points? And fourthly, the development of Lantau will take place very soon. When can the Sky Pier be ready? I think Mr. Law already answered the question regarding the question of the use of airspace. The Secretary answered the other three questions. Mr. Wong mentioned the new Shenzhen airport. Actually, I've just gone there for a visit. Indeed, the facilities are really very impressive. But the Shenzhen airport would have flights serving mainly the mainland routes. 90% of the routes are mainland routes, whereas in Hong Kong, our routes are mainly international routes. Because of our proximity to the mainland, our flights connecting Hong Kong with the mainland is also very important. Among the different airports in the PRD region, for historic reasons, there is a division of labor, but eventually, what determines where the plane will fly to is the decision of the airline company. In the different airports in the PRD region, we do have regular meetings regarding the issues regarding the use of the airspace. We try the best that there will be collaboration. Of course, there is also competition. Regarding the third runway project, we are now conducting the EIA study at the moment, and we've also started some preliminary design work. Eventually, we still have to resolve the question of funding. Therefore, later on, we'll come back and give an account of the progress to this panel later on, and we will need to obtain the support of this panel. According to the Secretary, other than the question of funding, is everything else proceeding smoothly? The planning for the third runway, I think the EIA is also a challenge because we need to satisfy the latest requirements regarding air quality, reclamation, and that there will not be any adverse impact on the marine ecology. That is a challenge. And also, when we're going to proceed with reclamation, we have to find the sand and so on. So the project itself is challenging. Can these be resolved? Mr. Wong, I think your time is up. Mr. Si Wing. To maintain Hong Kong's role as an aviation hub, I think we need to build the third runway as soon as possible. The Secretary said that we will hope to finish it by 2023. But in the next few years, it's very likely that the airport will become saturated. We now have 65 flights per hour. The maximum is 68. I've asked this question before, but the Secretary has not given me a direct answer. Will the Secretary consider working together with the Sun Chung Airport? That is, when the Hong Kong airport reaches a saturation point, could we have a triage system? Could we have a division of labor so that when the Hong Kong airport is saturated, at least we can maintain our status as a hub for the international routes? And can we consider becoming each other's shareholders? Otherwise, we're just competitors, and if the better they become, the greater the pressure will be put under. I also like to follow up on the question about the Skyview Pier in the Chinatown City, for example. I think people will go to Vide region by ferry at the Chinatown City, and the area near the Chinatown building is very crowded. Whereas the Skyview Pier does not handle a lot of tourists. But we're going to cope with 70 million people coming to Hong Kong in the next 3 years. So I think the government should open up the Skyview Pier so that you can divert some of the visitors to Lantau. Has the government considered this suggestion? To answer the question regarding the Skyview Pier, the Sky Pier, well, it catered to the needs for passengers who need to travel from the airport to the mainland. But with the development of Lantau, do we need to build another pier? We will see what it will depend on how the future development is. And secondly, regarding the question of what happened when both airports are saturated. When in that scenario, the airline company may have to consider, adjusting the type of planes and so on. When I answer Mr. Wong Ting Kwong's question, where does a plane land is the decision of the airline company based on the business considerations. Furthermore, where does a plane land? We're not talking about different airports within the same country. I think Hong Kong is independent in terms of because if an airline doesn't come to Hong Kong, it doesn't mean that they can automatically go to the mainland, because Hong Kong is an independent airspace.
Mr. Frankie Yik, although we have been overtaken by Shenzhen, our container port is still seeing a growth. It is said that there should be close cooperation between the government and the industry so as to make better use of the port-related uses. Recently, I have liaised with your bureau, and we have paid some site visits. In fact, we found that there is sites available for better use of land. So please convene a meeting so that we can release the land for port-related uses, and then we can improve the services at our container terminal. For the longer term, I think there must be a better land use policy regarding the vicinity of the container terminal and the airport. In the policy address, mention is made about the artificial island of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. It is said that it will be put to commercial users, but you're silent on logistics industry. But then it's very near to the airport, and it is easy to go from there to the container terminal. I think it would be a good place to develop third-party logistics industry. Now, the government has been saying that we want to have modern logistics facilities. Let me cite an example. Hon SIN Chung-kai. You always talk about high-value logistics, high-value added logistics, but what about the lower end? It is part of the supply chain. If you only talk about using new land, and if you don't talk about the 100 hectares or so of land lost, then I'm afraid that the supply chain will be broken. Now, for the container terminal number 10 and also the strategic study of the Hong Kong port, I think they are about to be finished. Can you name a timetable? And also, it is said that there will be statutory organization concerning maritime services. When will it be implemented? We've been asking for it for a long time. First of all, concerning the statutory organization, well, it is a recommendation from the consultants. We are going to make public the report, and we would like to look at the functions, the financial position, and how it can be sustainable in the long term. So the administration myself would like to see the early establishment of such a statutory organization for our maritime services. Indeed, we have got a report each on the port development and the 10th container terminal. Now, it will soon be made available. For modern logistics, of course, we need the development, and we also have the need for basic logistics. The industry may be divided concerning its definition. We hope that the Development Bureau will take the lead to look at the development, and we hope that at the end of the day, the arrangements are satisfactory. We are always concerned about the airport-related land use. We want to make good use of our port facilities, and we want to enhance the port backup land. So we'll be adopting a two-pronged approach. The last, Mr. Tan Ka-pyo. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is a proposal to set up the Civil Aviation Training Institute. Is it possible to set up in either Tung Chung or North Lin Town? That's the first question. Second question is about the maritime industry. It is said that there should be a higher level council. I've also asked for trade unions to be represented, like the Seafarers Association or the Trade Union for Logistics. Now, for the sea cadets, well, they haven't got any opportunities to have further studies unless they go to Australia. So trade unions have provided the opportunity for them to further their studies and to get upgraded in terms of their qualifications. Then what about the compensation fund for marine accidents? Currently, we lack protection. So what is your comment on this, Secretary? First of all, for the Civil Aviation Training Institute, as I have said in my reply to an earlier question, we will start a consultancy study expecting a report towards the end of the year, covering things like positioning, the qualification framework, as well as the teachers' qualifications. We are still a far cry from choosing a site for the in situ. Once we get a report from the consultant, we'll have to give consideration to that matter. In relation to the input of the trade unions, well, for the new council, new statutory organization, we will certainly consult the industry in relation to the new statutory body to drive the development of the maritime services in Hong Kong. And then for the idea of having a compensation fund for marine accidents, the Marine Department is almost finishing its consultancy study. We are quite short of time today, but then next time you talk about the Lemon Island collision, so perhaps we can take that up later. For the port backup users, please also look at the land required for the maintenance of diesel goods vehicles. They are now entering a very difficult stage. Colleagues, can you not give me 10 seconds? I forget to declare interest. I'm a director of the NTL. That's it for this session. I'm grateful to Professor Zhang and his team members. The next item is a briefing by the Secretary for the Environment on relevant policy initiatives in the CE's 2014 policy address. I just want to say that for our panel, the Secretary will mainly be talking about the development of the two power companies. For the other environmental issues, at 2:30 p.m. today, we have a meeting of the Environmental Affairs panel, so you can raise those other environmental issues there and then. And then for the development of the electricity market, on the 6th of February, we are holding a special meeting to look at the development plans. Today, we have got a very tight schedule. We're supposed to end by 12:45. So for those who would like to ask questions, please raise your hands. I am going to draw a line, and then I have to do some calculation to see how much time will be given to each of you. Tanka Pugh, Kenneth Chen, Sin Chung-kai, Sid Ho. Who else? Fernando Zhang. Secretary, when you're ready, please be brief. Your speech has already been given to us, so you can be brief, so that we can have more time for members to ask questions. Mr. Wong. Mr. Chairman, well, for today's paper, we have set out two parts concerning the work in the coming year. First of all, review on future fuel mix for power generation, as well as the review on future regulatory framework for the electricity market. I think you have already given us the comments at the stage of the midterm review. So maybe I will just pause here. Tanka Pugh, 3 minutes each. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, on different occasions, I've already said that for the review of the regulatory framework for the electricity market, you mustn't forget about the employment side. Now, the CLP staff members have to be on call all the time, 5 to 6 kilograms heavy, rather than just a call pager. Therefore, they are on call round the clock. So they can't go hiking, or they can't go to a banquet, and yet for a technician to be promoted, instead of retiring at 65, they have to retire at the age of 60. In other words, they don't get any job security, and therefore you don't have a stable fleet, a stable team of staff members to provide reliable power supply to us. Recently, I went to Potai Island together with Alice Mack. The residents are in their 70s, 80s. They go to buy diesel for their generator from Aberdeen, and then they have to go up the steps to drive their generator. Well, in fact, they have to spend $4 per unit of electricity. When are you going to cover such outlying islands where there is no power supply? 2 questions here, Mr. Wong. Well, on other occasions, Mr. Tang has raised the same points with me. We are aware of the issues, and in due course, we will follow them up with the relevant stakeholders. Mr. Tang, yes, I've still got a minute or so left. How are you going to follow the issues up for Po Toi Island, even for the public facilities? Now, private citizens have to pay for them. Are you going to reimburse them? Or are you going to subsidize their fuel costs? They have to buy their own diesel. And is it possible for the government to deliver the diesel to the Po Toi Island? Secretary, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Tang, I haven't got details to give you an answer, but I'm sure we will take up the matter with the relevant power companies. I think you understand that given the existing regulatory framework, we need to come up with an overall view. The expenditure of the power companies is being met by the entire community. We have to strike a balance among the various aspirations and demand for electricity from different parts of the territory. I hope you understand that for us to strike a balance, it is a challenge. I hope you will pay a visit to Po Toi Island. Government subsidy means that eventually the money comes out from the pockets of the community. Kenneth Chen, I hope the secretary will speak closer to the mic. We can't actually hear him properly. The fuel mix. It seems that we are not yet able to get the report. We are already towards the end of January. Please give us the details of your timetable. And then, of course, I'm concerned about nuclear power. It is said that we should have 50% of the power generated from nuclear energy. It is supposed to be cheap and good, but then it seems that everybody is thinking afresh in the light of the Fukushima incident. Is the government still that keen to develop nuclear energy or to get power from nuclear energy? Or are you going to have a second thought? Can you not come up with something more scientific and rational and scientific so that we don't just set our eyes on the dollar sign but will pay more attention to environmental protection? Deputy Secretary, I think the member is asking a question about the consultation document on the fuel mix. We are towards the end of the preparatory work. For the details in the report, if you don't mind, since the report will soon be published. So for the various questions asked, they will all be addressed in our paper. It's about the consultation document, and it's about the future tense. When will it take place? Can you not give us more details concerning the timetable and also the content of the consultation exercise? We expect to do so in the first quarter. SIN Chung-kai, I'm also concerned about the fuel mix. But before that, I'm glad to see Ms. Christine Low on the team. I welcome your presence, and I hope that you will put in more efforts. For electricity, if you don't give an answer, I'll just give my piece. 2 years ago, Edward Yao said that nuclear power will account for 50% of the fuel for generation of electricity. Without radiation leakage, nuclear energy is good. It is not expensive, and it is zero carbon emission, and it will have the least impact on climate change. However, you may be safe for 10 years, 20 years, or even for a longer span of time. But if once there's an accident, then it will be irrevocable. Today, if you ask me, I will tell you that I won't go to Japan anymore. You can't force me to go there, though others may think otherwise. In terms of the fuel mix, of course, the DP has been saying that the plant is already there. We have the contractual obligation to get some of our electricity from the nuclear station. So we will honor the contractual spirit. But if you ask me, I don't favor any power company having further investment on the mainland. For anything on the mainland, I would say that it's one country, two systems. But if you say that the mainland power plant should provide more electricity to Hong Kong, I will object to it. Now, for coal and petroleum, or even other types of renewable energy, I hope we can have a better mix from such sources. For renewable energy, I understand it is expensive.
The cheapest now is still coal, but ever since you scrap the liquefied natural gas station, we're now forced to buy the more expensive gas coming from the western part of China. Secretary, I hope you strike a proper balance between environmental protection on the one hand and affordability by the public on the other. Since the public was issued, I don't think we can look forward to a subsidy of $1,800 for our electricity tariff. Even if there's going to be a waiver, I wonder whether the government will still give us $1,800. With the increase in recurring expenditure, I think the one-off subsidies will not be as much. Mr. To, I'm also asking a question about the electricity tariff for the grassroots households. I mean, they live in very poor living environment because of the effect of the so-called, they're forced to use air conditioners because of the screen effect. So my question is this year for the grassroots households, what is the room for a subsidy for those households to pay for the electric tariffs? On the other hand, the charging structure for the large shopping malls should actually adopt a progressive model so that there should be an incentive for them to save electricity. In Causeway Bay, we've seen neon signs which are unnecessarily bright. It would also affect the residents living in the vicinity who have to suffer with the light pollution. And also for the major users of electricity in the shopping malls and so on, will you review the charging mechanism? And how will you resort to legislation or administrative measures to force them to introduce energy-saving facilities? To answer Ms. Ho's question, I think we can address the issue from two angles. Regarding the electricity tariff paid by the grassroots levels, for the last 2 years, when we reviewed the tariff structure with the two power companies, we adopted a stagger system, so the households which were able to save on electricity, the tariff had not gone up, it has actually gone down. So this is one way to encourage the grassroots households to conserve energy. Regarding the shopping commercial buildings, a year or so ago, we introduced a new legislation regulating these large commercial buildings which consume a lot of electricity. We have a new legislation on energy conservation, and which enable them to make decorations and to carry out reviews. We have measures to encourage them to use less air conditioning. For example, we also advise that they should tune the air conditioning level to 24 to 25 degrees centigrade. When will the administration enact legislation to regulate light pollution? You talk about light pollution. The task force has just received the comments obtained during the consultation. and then our Bureau will follow up on those comments accordingly. Dr. Fernando Cheung. I think regarding the fuel mix, I think one category should be renewable energy. I received views from many deputations suggesting that if we were to develop renewable energy in Hong Kong, it's not very cost effective. It's not efficient and it's very expensive. And it would not really benefit the public. So I don't know what is the government's thinking on this subject. Regarding the scheme of control for the two power companies, we will have another meeting to discuss that in detail. But I'd like to ask the government what is their position regarding the separation of power generation from distribution and also the connection of the two power grids. Could you tell us what is the administration's position? Even if you talk about linking up the two power grids, 3 consultancy studies have been done and they all concluded that it's feasible. I don't know whether or not you need to conduct another consultancy study, or do you already have a direction in mind and we're only talking about when we will have an implementation plan? 2 questions. Separating power generation from power distribution and the integrating of the power needs are deferred to the secretaries. To answer your question about conservation, in Europe, for example, they through the treatment of municipal waste, they can actually create energy. So I think we can learn from the experience. For example, we can collect gases from the landfills to create biogas, and in the treatment of waste, electricity could also be generated. So we hope that we will be able to cut down on the social cost while creating a win-win situation. The question about separating the power plant, generation plant from the power distribution, it involves a lot of complex financial, accounting, and legal issues, which we need to look at further, especially the legal aspects. The 2 power grids belong to the 2 electricity companies. If in future we want to separate power generation from power distribution so that a third party can supply electricity to Hong Kong through the grids of the 2 power companies, we have to overcome many legal issues. And regarding the linking up of the 2 power networks or grids, of course the public would like to patronize the power company with charges a lower tariff. We can only do that if we were to connect the 2 power grids together. We now need to explore into the technical feasibility and what will be the economic benefits. Connecting the 2 power grids will not do away with the need to acquire additional facilities. Additional investment will need to be made. Additional land may also be required. So it may not result in the tariff, becoming cheaper. Well, Mr. Yip has put up his hand. I think we'll ask them to give us a paper with more details on the subject when we discuss this at our next meeting. Mr. Yip, Ms. Ho suggested that the government should consider adopting a progressive model for the tariff structure, and the business sector does not agree. Of course, I support the government coming up with measures so that we can all conserve energy. The major users doesn't mean that they are wasting electricity. Many commercial organizations now are consuming less electricity than they did 10 years ago. They've adopted a lot of energy conservation measures, a lot more than what the households are doing. The government should therefore resort to incentives rather than resorting to punishment. The major users of electricity does not mean that they are also wasting electricity. We already have legislation regulating the energy efficiency of buildings, and we also have incentives to encourage the shopping centers and so on to conserve energy. For example, rely less on air conditioning. You have hospitals and universities which consume a lot of electricity because of they occupy large space. Members, all members already asked the questions, and I'd like to remind members that our next meeting will be held on the 6th of February, a Thursday at 4:30. One of the items will be the development plan for the two power companies and the adjustment of the electricity tariff in 2014. So with that, I think we may now adjourn. I'd also like to thank Mr. Wong and his team. Thank you.